Unfortunately, with a cyber attack, a lot of them are repeat attacks, and our industry now has a target on its back. These people were able to get in, and they successfully got millions of dollars out of one of these major vendors.
Yeah.
They're going to continue to try to get into other vendors or even the same vendor again.
I don't disagree.
And get money again.
Yeah.
So we like to say it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to happen again. It's just the world that we live in today. It's a cat and mouse game. These people are trying to get in and lock us down so they can get money out of us, and we're doing everything we can to keep them out.
Welcome to the Strategy with Jason podcast. Tune in for everything you need to know regarding the automotive industry. Here's your host, Jason Harris.
Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? It is Jason Harris here, and thank you for joining me on another episode of Strategy with Jason. Right now, I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm with the one, the only, I'm told, oh so famous. Your team paid me to say that. No, I'm just kidding. I'm with Adam with Advent Resources, man. How you doing, dude?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm glad that we've been able to hang out a few times this weekend. We get to know each other a little bit, but I'm excited to kind of get into your story and just kind of the cool topics that we picked today. But Adam, I like kicking off these podcasts with a little origin story.
Okay.
Because man, I'm kind of fundamentally fascinated, just how people just get into this business, right? Because I find they're pretty. There's no one consistent way into the automotive industry, by the way. There's just not, right? So let's start there, Adam. How did you get started in this crazy little world we call the automotive industry?
It's a great question, and it kind of fell into it. You know, there wasn't, when I was a kid, I wasn't looking to be in the automotive industry. I worked in customer support most of my life in high-scale call centers, so that's, consumer products, B2C was the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot of sales, retention, or just standard support. And I ended up finding Advent Resources. They were looking for someone to run their customer support department. So that's how I kind of got my foot into the automotive industry. And from there, it just took off. I did some of the delivery implementation, and now I'm the head of sales and delivery for Advent Resources. So it just started off with me doing what I normally do, and now I'm knee-deep in automotive, and I don't see myself going anywhere anytime soon.
You got bit by the bug, didn't you?
I love it. I love cars.
Right?
I love the industry. I love the people. It's exciting. It's never a boring day.
It is. It's a challenge. It's always a challenge.
Always.
And I think for all of us that gotten in this industry, I think that's one thing that kind of keeps us going, and it's the fun part, right? It's
right.
just like, just when you think you got it, something happens. A hurricane comes through, or a chip shortage happens, or a pandemic happens, or a cyber attack happens. I mean, literally, can we get punched in the face anymore in just in the last few years, right? But
right.
but I have found in this industry, it's just how just resilient.
Absolutely.
Like we are. We can just keep taking these poundings and just kind of keep going along with it.
Yep.
And let's get into, because I know I want to get into kind of the most recent one. Let's get into the most recent pounding that we've taken, right?
Okay.
Let's get into the cyber attack, right? I think everybody was affected in many, many different ways. You guys were kind of in a very interesting position with you guys' tool. But actually, let's do this. For everyone out there that maybe doesn't know exactly what Advent Resources is, let's start there, and then we'll kind of go into, what just recently, the most recent punch to the face was.
Absolutely. So Advent is kind of a unique product, right? We do something that no one else really does in the industry. We are a pseudo DMS, right? So we are essentially a front-end DMS. We are hyper-focused on the sales process, driving efficiency through that process, digitizing everything that we can, making it as simplistic and fast as possible for not only the dealership, but also the consumer, right? That's one of the biggest complaints consumers have, is how much time they spend at the dealership going through that sales process.
Sure.
So that's something that we're hyper-focused on. We handle everything from desking all the way through finance, e-contracting, and digitizing and speeding up that process for the dealership and the end consumer.
Yeah, I mean, our industry is kind of built of these starts and stops, and I'm not talking about just for the customer. It's even just for us, right? I mean, you think about okay, you're out there, you spent the 45 minutes out there in the heat and done the demo, you've done the walk around, and the customer goes, okay. You're like, yeah? And But then everything has to stop. Like it's like, well, okay, hold on, stop. Come here. We got to do this. Boom, 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 right? And I got to do that in one system.
Yep.
All right. Then I go through that whole back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Okay, I agree to that price. Okay, stop. And then I got to go to another system, right? I mean, it's not uncommon these days. So I go into a sales manager's office, and it looks like, the headquarters of NASA or something like that. And it's like monitor, big screen, like,
right.
And so I think with your guys' solution, at least what I've seen, this eliminates a fair amount of this, right? It kind of creates, let's call it kind of a speed to sell or kind of a fast track. Can you walk me kind of through that process?
Absolutely. So, most automotive dealerships use 15 to 20 different systems just to do their day-to-day operations. And a lot of those systems aren't seamlessly integrated. They don't play nice with each other. They don't really hyper-focus on making that process as simple as possible. And you'll notice that an employee may have to log into 5-6 different systems just to desk a deal, run credit, present payments to the customer, and then continue through the process. So we've been hyper focused on
at least 5 systems. Actually, I'm thinking about in
at
my
least
head, right?
Right.
Like, seriously, I'm just trying to think, like, depending on your manufacturer is, you might have to go to leasing versus a payment solution. Then you got to go to your financing portal. Then you got okay, go ahead. Yeah, I'm thinking at least 5. Yeah.
So since we're hyper-focused on the sales process, we work with our partners, and that's with our customers and other vendors, and we work to build better seamless integrations, and we focus on keeping the customer, our end user, in our system and not having them to go log into an alternate system. And the integrations that we do, either we're able to consume that data back into our system so it's seamless for them, or we make it very easy transition with another integration to easily pop into that alternate system and make sure that data is going back and forth seamlessly. Less redundancy as far as data entry and having to do that context switching on a regular basis.
Yeah, because it's got a bit of a control center.
Exactly.
Right? Like, I mean, I'm coming to just in one place, I don't, and which I think that's got to taste good to the customer as well, right? Because,
absolutely.
I mean, again, I'm talking about those start and stops, it's like, okay, well, all right, you said yes, now I got to go desk a deal, and then I got to negotiate the deal, and then I got to load that deal, and then I need to, I got to go to credit, I got to get the credit done, all right, then, okay, all right, so here comes the credit, no, wait, now I got to load the F&I products, and then I got to go back, match that into the deal to come with the, like, there's a lot to be there, but all of this for you guys is done in this kind of really pretty, just kind of like almost a step-by-step kind of UI I've seen.
Absolutely. Very simplistic UI, easy to use, easy to learn, which, a lot of legacy systems are very complicated.
Yes.
You've got to know these special keys. You've got to hit this A with the up and the other key over here and 3 clicks on that button.
Some of them all caps.
Yep.
Dude, I still get emails today.
All
and I'm
caps.
like, all caps. And I'm like, okay.
Why are they yelling at me?
I think I know what 3-letter company you're working with. It's like, actually, I remember, I was thinking maybe Austin was working with me at the time or not, but I don't think he was. But I do remember having one of my creative people in my agency come back to me and they go, Jason, I don't know what I did, but I made Bill really mad. I'm like, why? The last 3 emails, he's just yelling at me. I'm like, the hell are you talking about? How does someone yell at you in an email? And she comes back and she shows me, and it's 3 emails, and they're all in caps.
Yep.
And it's like, oh my gosh. Anyways, I digress. Anyways, go ahead, continue.
Yeah, so, our sole focus is to make that as simple as possible, and more importantly, as profitable as possible for the dealership, right? The more that you switch between systems, you're passing data, there's different calculations.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good point.
And they all calculate a little bit differently, right?
Just ever so slightly.
And a couple pennies, a couple dollars on a payment that you're rolling from system to system, that cuts directly into the dealer's profit and gross per deal.
It could cost several $100s.
Exactly, per deal, and you're doing a couple hundred vehicles a month,
and
you're talking about thousands of dollars a month that they're just losing in gross profit because they're having to do this context switching between systems, and there's nothing really consolidating that, right? You're forced to use 5 systems, and you're forced to roll the payment 4 times, right?
No, I mean, I can't tell you how many times until, if I built a lease in my DMS,
yep,
and then I went to go build that lease into my finance solution. I'm like, can't make these things match.
Right.
Maybe $2 off here or $3 off there or whatever it is, right?
Yep.
Now I'm sitting here screwing around with residual rate, or maybe eventually I got frustrated. I'm like, fuck it, I'll just take it out of the gross,
Right.
and I'll just like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I'm with you on that. Okay, so I dig this. So it's doesn't necessarily replace my DMS.
Nope.
And it doesn't necessarily replace my CRM. So it kind of sits in the middle here and really kind of helps me fast track a part of the process. Or I guess let me just, that's not to say fast track it, but I guess it lets me decide how fast the customer wants to go, right?
Absolutely.
So like if the customer really wants to just blaze through this thing, then it's like, okay. And I guess I'm thinking of some of the dealerships out there, because I do work at some mentor level and do some consulting with them, and I do have some dealers that we call, like super salesmen, right?
Yep.
So they're doing the sell and the F&I sell all together. That's got to be wonderful for those types of people, right? Because it's a singular screen.
Absolutely, and that's the nice thing too, right? We are an efficiency tool at our core, right? We try to speed things up, make it as efficient as possible, and that's great for two different types of dealers, right? You're talking about your high volume dealers that are pushing out 300, 400, 500, 600 cars a month.
Sure.
But then you also have your smaller dealers that have limited resources, and you've got a sales guy that's going through sales, desking, F&I, and they're having to constantly switch through multiple systems to get this done, right? So we consolidate that, and it takes something that's much more complicated for them, and it really simplifies it and makes it easier and more efficient for them.
Well, I mean, to me, I also think a little more transparent.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I'm just curious. I mean, I've seen the user interface. It feels like it would be something I'd flip the screen around.
Yep.
And really kind of participate it with the customer. Do
Absolutely.
you find some of your dealers are doing that?
Yeah, dealers like to present payments in different manners.
No, for sure.
And for the more technology forward dealers, they don't want to do a Foursquare where they draw everything by hand, or they don't want to print a piece of paper. They don't mind turning the screen around and showing them, hey, here's your numbers. There's nothing to hide. It's very transparent. They can change down payment. They can change term. They can change rate with the customer, and they can see in real time the actual payments that they're going to be calculating. So it makes it a little bit more interactive for the consumer as they're making that purchase as well.
I can be honest, and some people out there watching this right now, you may not like this process, but I'm actually a really big fan of this process. It was a process that we actually structured, at our dealership, almost 10 years ago, right?
Okay.
Now we didn't have a fancy system like this. We had to kind of like piecemeal something together. But one of the things I have found by turning that monitor around and really getting side by side, I got to be honest with you. So there's a little bit of psycho. I actually hate desk. I fundamentally hate desk. Why? You're sitting on one side. I'm sitting on one side. It's a proverbial game of poker.
Yep.
Right? Like, just from a body language perspective, like, we're just... Now, if I come and sit over here, like, next to you, and we have a screen in the between us, in front of us, then we're working together.
Correct. On
something here. Now, this was something I did at my dealership that I thought was quite impactful. The other thing I thought that we did, now, this was by accident. I think actually by salespeople maybe being slightly lazy. But I did have some, let's call them seasoned salespeople, right? I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with seasoned salespeople who like to one finger a lot of stuff on a computer. And one day, and I saw one of them doing this, is they were flipping the keyboard around and telling the customer what keys to push and what was doing that. And at first, I was a little perturbed by it, right?
Right.
I let it go. About a week goes by, and I started to notice something, all right? It was a wildly different body language and a consistently less discount or a consistently less negotiation when the customer built that payment versus us sitting here and clicking it and building for them, right? Yep. And I think, look, you guys may not like that strategy for you and stuff like that, but I think there's even some type of hibernation or like a hybrid of that strategy, where you can, and that's I think a really cool part about you guys' system is that you could execute a unique experience like that with that, because it's very user UI perspective, it's very user friendly, and like you said, you're going through the whole process, F&I, the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we like to give the dealer the opportunity to decide how they want to work, right?
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. You can use our system in multiple ways that fits your dealer process and your needs. If you don't want to have the customer interact, then you don't have to.
You go
your
more. If you
traditional
want to be more
process.
traditional, or you
Yep.
can go a little crazy like I like, and you're going to go over here. That's okay.
And it presents well, right? It's a clean UI. It's very modern. It's 21st century. It's you're not having to deal with like a terminal type screen that might be a little bit of a turnoff to a newer customer, right? So
What do you mean, a blue screen with a bunch of white capitalized letters doesn't look look good?
it depends.
That's in DOS.
It depends what your customer likes or what
Sure.
you like.
Sure.
There's tons of value to that. It's easy to use. Those are workhorses, and their functionality is fantastic. But at the end of the day, everything now is web based. It needs to be clean. It needs to be kind of that Salesforce-esque type of look and feel, right?
Yeah.
And that's what we provide.
Yeah, no, and like I dig it. And I love the kind of the position you're playing in, right? Because you're not replacing my DMS, but you're kind of you're taking a portion of the process out and just, well, I'm able to have more control of it, right? Yep. Like I'm able to kind of decide a bit more of kind of how the flow goes. I'm not stuck to your point, this legacy idea and strategy, right? So let's talk a little bit about the cyber attack,
Yep.
right? Because the way you guys' system is built, you guys were positioned, I think, in a very unique way here, and it ultimately created a pretty unique story. So let's get into that. Tell me a little bit about what happened during that cyber attack for you guys.
Absolutely. So a lot of the dealers, obviously, their entire operation came to a screeching halt.
Yeah.
And we initially said, okay, we've got a lot of dealers that we used to work with. Dealers switch systems on a regular basis, and a lot of them come back. So we reached out to clients that we've worked with in the past and just said, hey, we still have your guys' system available. It's not completely up to date. It's a really tough time right now. Would you guys like us to turn this back on for you so you at least continue your sales operations, right?
They must have loved you.
They absolutely loved us,
I'm just curious
right?
if you actually got anybody that said no.
We had very few people say no. There were some people that had old school processes that they were able to fall back on. That one F&I guy that's like, well, I can calculate
Been in the
it.
business long enough where it's
Right.
like he still had his like Ford leasing calculator over here, and he's like, oh, watch me, I can do a handwritten lease.
You had
One
a few of those, but for
Yeah.
the most part, everybody was happy to jump on board, start
Yeah.
using our system, and we gave them that continuity. We didn't know how long it was going to be. I think it was a little bit longer than anybody expected it to be, and it was a little bit more serious than we thought at first. But at least they were able to continue to sell cars, service their customers during that time. Selling a car is difficult. There's a lot of competition, and if you're not able to deliver that vehicle to the customer, they're going to go to the dealership down the road that has a similar vehicle in stock, and they're going to get that business. And that there's long-term ripple effects in not being able to facilitate that sell at that time, right?
For
It's
sure.
a negative customer experience. There's downstream servicing opportunities, future sales opportunities. So really it helped them at least continue business for today, but also provide the level of service to their customer base that they come to expect.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, look, it's not enough that we just meet the customer's expectations. We have to continue to actually exceed those expectations. And
Exactly.
It's like I said earlier on this podcast. I mean, our industry, we're really resilient. I mean, like you said, we'll take quite a few punches to the gut and just continue to kind of move forward, right?
Yep.
And we've seen that over the years. I mean, I've been in the business long enough to remember 2008, and I remember everything kind of up leading into that, going into the pandemic. It's like we're pretty resilient people, and we'll continue to move forward. But here's what I also find, and maybe because I was kind of drawn, I think there was a Boy Scout element in the automotive industry that I was drawn to. It's just because there's an inner Boy Scout inside me of just like,
Okay.
I always want to be prepared.
Okay.
And I seen like some of the most proactive dealers out there, go say, okay, this happened.
Yep.
Okay, what do I do? What happens next? And you guys kind of did the same thing,
Yep.
right? You're like, okay, it happened. We were able to handle it this way. Came out it a little less bruised and beaten than others.
Yep.
But there were some learnings from that, and you guys decided to kind of take it one step farther and actually create another solution just to kind of support that. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we were able to, through that process, we learned that, hey, there's really no true backup system in our automotive industry. And
never really know we needed one to be up until recently,
exactly,
right? Yeah,
exactly. It was never a problem until it was a problem.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, with a cyber attack, a lot of them are repeat attacks, and our industry now has a target on its back. These people were able to get in, and they successfully got millions of dollars out of one of these major vendors.
Yeah.
They're going to continue to try to get into other vendors or even the same vendor again.
I don't disagree.
And get money again.
Yeah.
So we like to say it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to happen again. It's just the world that we live in today. It's a cat and mouse game. These people are trying to get in and lock us down so they can get money out of us, and we're doing everything we can to keep them out. So in this firefighting situation, we obviously said, okay, that was painful for everybody. It was hard for us. We spent 18-hour days, the entire company from top down. I was telling you earlier, our CEO was training dealers, was helping gather information, helping configure systems.
When the flood's happening, everybody's pitching in, right?
Everybody, right?
Yeah.
I mean, our employee base is fantastic. They were working 12, 14-hour days, 7 days a week, and everybody really came together to make this moment successful. But we also said, okay, if and when this happens again, how can we be better prepared, and how can we offer solutions of, if it happens, you have something in place today, so if it happens tomorrow, you're taken care of. So we really went from a development standpoint and streamlined the process. We learned how to get live inventory into our system. So we would, ideally, we're now selling this product called Advent Parachute, right? And it's your safety net.
Say the name one more time, would you?
Advent Parachute.
All right, I dig it. I dig it. Yeah, okay. All right.
So when everything's falling apart, we're going to be your parachute, right?
Rip that cord. We're all good, bud. I like it. Okay.
So the idea is we stage our system for you. We have the live inventory. We make sure all your documents are up to date. Mm-hmm. If you have any custom documents, we get those in there for you as well. And we basically put this into a warm storage. So if anything happens, and it doesn't have to be at the level of the cyber attack that we suffered this year.
Sure.
I think Microsoft a week later released one bad line of code and brought down half the world for a couple of hours.
You don't
right?
actually believe that, do you? I mean, come on. Like
that's the story.
Like really, like one guy accidentally,
with all
misses a semicolon inside a piece of code, and half the world's like solutions go down. Anyways, I apologize. I'm always a sucker for a good conspiracy theory. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
So internet goes out. There's network issues. There's a million different things that may bring your dealership down for an hour a day a week, right?
Yeah.
And we want to be that solution for these dealers where if anything happens, at least you have the ability to continue sales, right?
Yes.
Which is a big part of the business. That's where you're getting new customers, you're building those relationships. So essentially, we set up this system. We have all of your data in there. We have all of your documents. And when anything does happen, you call us, we turn it on within minutes, and you're able to continue your sales process. You're able to do your payment presentation. We have live rates and residuals for all OEMs. You don't have to enter anything manually. You're able to e-sign, e-contract with your lenders as well. So it's really, we don't like to look at it as a software product.
Yeah.
It's an insurance policy, right? And that's really what it is. It's when something goes wrong, you have this policy in place to at least continue your business continuity.
Sure.
It's like life insurance, right? Like when you need it and you don't have it, it's too late. So this is really a proactive approach to something that we know is going to happen again, and at least gives these dealers a peace of mind at a very low cost to have that backup solution in place.
And I can see many different uses for it. Like I really can.
Absolutely.
Like I mean, not just the cyber attacks and stuff like that. I mean, I had the building next to my dealership caught on fire.
Oh.
I was fortunate enough that it didn't actually affect us or any of my inventory or anything like that. But because of it, utilities were just completely down. Like there was nothing. So we were able to kind of move our inventory to kind of like a secondary lot.
Okay.
But like, man, trying to spin up and get all the systems back on and kind of this like temporary like off-site location, freaking nightmare.
Yep.
Just a freaking nightmare. I'm like, it would have been pretty awesome just be able to flip on a laptop and just hit a button.
Or an iPad.
Or an
iPad,
yeah.
You have no ISP, connect your hotspot, and you're selling cars.
Just go at it again. I mean, I can see so many practical uses, because to your point, it's kind of like that insurance policy. It's like,
Absolutely.
it's like you don't really get it with maybe in the intention of using it, but damn, you're going to be really very, very happy when you actually do have to use it.
Absolutely. And I mean,
That's a unique offering, man. I kind of dig that. I really kind of dig that, right? Because you're just like, no, you keep everything you have. This will just kind of sit back here, and whenever the shit hits the fan, you can put your parachute on. I like that.
Exactly. And I mean, and how many different insurances does a business have to carry just in case, right? And we really look at
I love that, man. And I also like that in the sense of like that's a very partner thing to do. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, we've talked a little bit about this before we started recording. I'm not a huge fan of the word vendor, because I find that if you have a vendor, really what you're saying is you have someone that that is selling you a solution and meeting that minimum expectation of the execution of whatever that is. Right? It's just it's a transaction. It's just a transaction. That's all it is, right? Like, I have this, you want it, you give me money, I give it to you. That's it, right? Partners don't do that. Partners, and I think, not only just meet the expectation, they have a tendency of always consistently exceeding the expectation, because they don't necessarily just care about the singular transaction as much as they care and kind of want to partner with you to really future transactions, future success, real objectives and goals, and you guys take this approach, and I'm kind of curious why you guys have chosen to take that approach, because not everybody has. So, like, tell me kind of how that came about.
Honestly, from day one, it's culture of our company. That's something, even on our paychecks back in the day before everything went digital, right? It would say paid to you by our customers, right? So it's something where we truly believe.
Wait, on the paycheck? There's a little line?
Yeah.
I like that. Sorry, go ahead.
And
No, it's a little thing, but I love little things. I totally dig that. That's very cool.
Right, and it's a reminder to our team that there is no business without our customers.
Yeah, exactly.
And within the automotive industry, there's a lot of growth and changing of hands, and there's a lot of word of mouth, right? If you go try to sell a product to anybody, the first thing they're asked you, who else is using this? Who can I talk to, right? And it's very much so, we want to grow with our customers. We want them to have a successful business. The more successful they are, the more that we are. And, buy sells are happening on a daily basis, and dealers are constantly selling and acquiring dealerships. And we want to be part of that process. And whether they're acquiring a new dealership or selling to a different person, we want them to say, hey, Advent is the best person that you're going to be able to work with in this industry. Do not get rid of them. You're going to love them. And that happens more often than not with us. We want to exceed the expectations for their benefit as much as for ours.
That's awesome. And when it's kind of built into that culture level, it gets consistently executed because everyone's marching at the same beat of that drum, right?
Absolutely.
Look, Adam, I know we're getting towards the tail end of our time here, and I feel like I could easily probably go another 30 minutes with you on some of these topics. But before I let you go, though, for everybody out there watching and listening right now who would love to connect with you and maybe continue some parts of this conversation, or just find out a little bit more, like what's the best way to connect with you?
I think going on this partner conversation, right? I tell everybody, call our support team. Call 310-241-1500. Select any department, tell them that you want to talk to myself or somebody about our product, and you will be connected immediately. Or you can call or reach out to me directly. My cell phone's 424-425-9494, or my email is adamf@adventresources.com. You'll get a response. Someone will pick up. You'll be taken care of immediately. So the fun one is call our support team. Within 30 seconds, you're going to talk to a live person, and you're going to be connected to the people you need to talk to.
That's some serious commitment, man.
Absolutely.
I think some people might actually test you out on that.
I challenge you. I challenge you to do so.
Dude, thank you so much, man, for taking the time to jam with me today. This has been a lot of fun. Hey, for everybody out there watching and listening right now, the biggest compliment you can give Adam or myself is share the show. All right. It means so much to us, and it truly is a compliment if you do that. If you got a friend, if you got a colleague, if you got a manager that needs to see or some part of this conversation, share the show. It really means a lot to us. Hey, everyone out there, thank you so much for watching or listening. You have yourself an amazing day.
Thanks for tuning in to the Strategy with Jason podcast with your host, Jason Harris. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Happy podcasting.